G'day everybody, welcome to the second part of our Super Mario Bros. Construct 2 tutorial. This time around, we are going to make ourselves a Mario, and we're just going to get the animations and get them quite right, because there's a lot of tweaking that we have to do to make sure that they work just as well as we want them to. If you just stumbled across this video and you missed the first one, please go down to the description of the video and follow the link for the first part. Otherwise, let's get cracking. Let's add 2 folders to our object types to start organizing the things that we're going to make. Because if we don't make folders, things are going to get very messy very quick. So I want you to right click on object types, select add subfolder I should say. First one's going to be Mario. You can only guess what's going to be in there. Right click on object types again. And this one is going to be MISC for miscellaneous. And we're going to add a few things in there for the moment. Okay, mainly temporary things to this video. In fact, let's make our first temporary object. I want you to right click on MISC, insert a new object, and we're just going to make the ground, okay? We're going to click on Sprite and name it, amazingly, ground, okay? Click anywhere down the bottom here to add it, and we're basically going to color this in black at the right size. So click on the resize button, set the width to 32, the height to 32, grab the fill tool on the left, set it to black if you haven't already, click, close. Pretty much done. I'm just going to set it in a position. I'm going to resize it to the right size. Okay. And this is what Mario is going to walk on for the moment. We're not going to worry about actual Mario graphics just yet. Okay. Because otherwise, we're just going to be here for a while if we do. So we need to add a behavior so this can actually be ground. Right now, it's just a picture. We need to click on behaviors. We need to click add. Type in solid. Hit enter. Now it's a platform that Mario can walk on, and we're good to go. Alright, now pause the video if you haven't got up to that point. Whoops, I just realized I haven't saved yet. Let's click the save button. Let's go to our Super Mario Bros. Folder. Super Mario Bros. That was a bit silly. Anyway, what we now need to do is get Mario into the game. Okay, so if you're still not up to scratch, please pause, catch up, and we'll go get Mario. So, go to the folder where you extracted all those graphics and get your folder window small so you can see both your folder window and construct in the background. Because what we're going to do is we're going to grab the small idle picture here and we're going to drag it into our layout. So grab, drag, and there's Mario. How easy is that? First thing, let's get Mario inside the Mario folder. So grab and drag small idle on top of Mario and let go. There we go. It's in the right folder. Right click it, rename Mario. Difficult stuff, I know. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, add his behaviors so we can move around and jump and hit platforms. So we're going to add platform. That's it. That's all Mario has for this. The next thing we're going to do is add some instance variables. Now what these are, they're little boxes that we can put information into to tell us different things about where Mario's up to. They might be if he's jumping, they might be how many coins he has, how much life he has, and things like that. The main ones we're going to add today are going to tell us if he's a big Mario or a small Mario, if he's skidding or not skidding, and it's really important that we know if he is not or not. And finally, if we can control Mario or not. So to add them, we're going to click the plus button. And the first one is going to be called is big. Just like that. Now, this is going to tell us if it's yes, then he is going to be a large Mario. If it's a no, then he's going to be a small Mario. There's a data type or a type that actually controls this, and it's Boolean. Okay, it's the name of a famous mathematician that invented Boolean mathematics. Okay, so it can only be a false or a true value. So false means Mario's small, true means Mario's big. Okay, to add the next one, these are all going to be Booleans, by the way. Is skidding, tells us if Mario is doing a skid animation or not. Okay, I'll explain what that is in a moment. And last one is active, if we can control Mario or not. And this one, by default, I want to be true. There are our 3 instance variables. Okay, and now we can close that dialog and start adding in his animations. Okay, so save. Double click on Mario's face and we're ready to go. Okay, so as you can see, we currently have one animation called default, and inside that animation we have 1 frame. This is exactly how the small idle animation is going to be. It's going to be a small Mario. He's not going to do anything because there is no idle animation. Okay, What we're going to do is we're going to rename this animation by right-clicking, going down to rename, calling it small idle. Okay, so obviously we call it small idle because there's going to be a big idle as well. Okay, because they're completely different pictures. All right, and now we need one for running, jumping, skidding, growing, dying, shrinking, and more. Okay, so let's set up all the animations and fill them up with graphics afterwards. Okay, so right-click, add animation to create a brand new one. Okay, and you can go small running, and we're going to do the same thing for the rest of them. And I'm going to do this pretty quick just to get it out of the way. So small jumping, small skidding, big idle, big running, big jumping, big skidding, big ducking. Okay, there's an interesting one for you because Big Mario can duck, Little Mario cannot. Dead, pretty straightforward, he's dead. Grow, and I'm not going to do shrink, and I'll tell you why just in a bit. Alright, so the next thing is we need to insert all the graphics for these animations, because if you click on these animations, it's going to switch between them, and you'll notice that all these animations are now blank. They don't even include the original graphic, which is a good thing, because you want these animations to all be different. So let's start with small jumping, and there's a reason I chose that, and I'll tell you why in a second. And to put a frame inside this animation, we're simply going to right-click down here in animation frames. You're going to go import frames from files. Okay, and that's going to allow you to pick from stuff. So let's go to a graphics folder, Mario, and find the jumping picture, which is just here, small jump. There he is. Now you can see we've got this blank frame on the front of it. What that actually is, that's an animation at the moment, and it'll start with a blank frame, and then it'll move on to Mr. Jumping Mario. To get rid of this, just simply right-click on it and click delete. And that's it. Alright, the next one, small running, is a bit different to how we did small jumping. You may have noticed that the running animations have multiple pictures inside one image. So what we're going to do is we're going to import a sprite strip. So let's go back to here. We're going to right-click down here just like we did before, import frames, but from sprite strip. Okay, you pick your animation or your picture, you click OK or open, and make sure when this dialog comes up that the right values are already plugged in, that there's 3 horizontal and there's 1 vertical. Because these images were evenly spaced, Constructors picked up that there was 3 of them. Okay, and I also want you to tick this box, this replace entire existing animation. All that's going to do is just get rid of that empty frame there at the front for us. Okay, okay, and there's our running animation right there. Okay, let's get the rest of them in. Skidding, import from file, skid, delete the original. Same thing for idle, so let's go big idle, delete the empty frame, big running as a sprite strip. Notice how it comes up with 2, so make sure you select 3 and tick. Yep, there's our 3 frames. Big jumping, delete, big skid, there it is, big ducking, big duck. Anyway, dead is simply dead. Alright, and all our frames are ready to go. The next one is going to be a little bit different. The grow. What we're going to do is when Mario grows, if you've played it before, you'll notice he flickers between small and big, and then he stops and he's big at the end, basically. So what we're going to do is we are going to put in a number of small and big idle frames, and we're going to copy and paste them so they end up making up like a bit of a flickering animation when we play it together. So the first thing I'm going to do is import a file, and it's going to be the small idle to begin with. I'm then going to import the big idle, just like so. And if you play them together, it's sort of like Mario's flickering between small and big. So what we're going to do is we're going to play on that. We're going to keep duplicating these frames. Okay? So the order I did it in my game, you can change it if you want, but I did small, then big, and then I did small, big, and then continuing. So what I'm going to do is right-click on the small frame and duplicate. Okay? And that puts another small frame there, and I'm going to drag it, so just click and drag it past the big frame. And you're going to see what we're going to do. So I'm just going to build this up, and you guys can copy me. So we've got small, big, and then I did small, small, go over there, small, and then I did a big. I know how weird this is. And then I finally finished with a small and a big. So it goes small, big, small, big, small, small, big, small, big. And then that's where he stops. And that's his grow animation. Okay, so the reason I didn't make a shrink animation is I'm now going to right click on this grow animation and I'm going to duplicate it. Call it shrink. Shrink. And just click on the shrink animation and you'll see it matches up exactly with the grow animation. Well, it should because we copied it. What I do is I'm just going to be really cheap here. With the shrink animation, he's going from big back to small. So I'm just going to grab the small frame at the front, drag it so it's the 8th or the 9th frame at the bottom. So he starts big and he shrinks down to small. And that's it. All right. Before we finish up this video, we're going to go through each one of these animations and we're going to clean them up, okay? Because there's actually a lot of stuff that we need to do, especially in the running animations. Okay. For example, on the left-hand side of every single frame, you've got an origin and image points button and a collision poly button. In the image points, you'll see when I click on that, I get this little asterisk, this star in the middle here. This is what's called, on the frame's origin point. So this is where Construct thinks the middle of the picture is. And it will try and guess where the middle is to begin with. All right. You can also see up the top here, it says that it's 7 across and 8 down. Okay. This allows you to get really accurate with your points. Okay. You can easily change the origin point just by clicking anywhere on your player. Okay. You can also change these numbers up here like I was talking about, and that'll move the origin point around. Okay, now obviously I want that back in the middle, and if I don't know roughly where the middle is, I can come down here where it says origin, right click on it, quick assign middle. But my personal favorite for assigning it is just using these boxes up here. I'm going to set that back to 7. I don't like half numbers. It doesn't work very well with me. All right, so that is the origin point, and we need to make sure for all the small frames that the origin is smack bang in the middle. The collision polygon needs to look a lot neater than that. All right, that's rough as guts. All we're going to do is we're just going to make a big square for this collision polygon. And the way it works is all these red dots are collision points. Okay. Construct then draws lines between those collision points, and that becomes your collision polygon. Okay. This blue stuff in the middle is what Mario looks like to Construct's physics engine. Okay. So these gaps underneath his feet and behind his head and in front of his head won't be collision. That won't cause any collision, only the blue stuff will. Because this is a simple platformer that's really based in the past, we're going to ignore that and we're just going to use a straight out box. And to do so, we're going to delete all these middle points by right clicking on the point you want to delete and selecting the delete option. And you do that the same over here and the same down here. I'm simply then going to click and drag with the left mouse button these other points up into the corners. Now make sure you've got whole numbers up the top here. It says 13 and 0, 0 and 0. You shouldn't have any fractional parts on these. And this is what Mario's collision is going to look like. Yeah, sure, a Goomba could hit him right in the back of the head, but that's not going to be much. That's like a pixel accuracy there. Okay, so it's not going to be very noticeable when you do. All right, this is the small idle done. Now we have to do the same thing for every single animation, including animation speeds for these kind of guys. The first thing I'm going to do, when I click on small running, I'm going to set the speed to 15. And that's going to speed up how quickly these frames play. 5 is actually quite slow. 15 I've found to be roughly the right speed. If you don't like it, you can always change the speed if you like. So it's how quickly it'll change between the frames and restart. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to resize this collision polygon. You'll notice that it takes up the whole thing of Mario and there's lots of white space around him, which is not very good. So we're going to move these points in. Now, I don't like dragging and dropping because you'll notice you get these fractional numbers. And it's really hard to be accurate about it. So what I like to do is I like to grab the point and I use these up and down arrows to move the collision point. So I want this collision point to move back up. So I'm going to reduce the Y value. 1, 2. Same thing with this one over here. 1, 2. And that's reduced it and it's sitting on top of his foot. That's why I like to use these because it's an exact collision poly now. All right. I'm going to do the same thing with the top, but I'm going to increase the Y value and I'm going to do it 2 at a time. So select the first collision point, hold Shift on the keyboard and click the other collision point. And then just go up, up, up. And I'm going to do the same thing with the left-hand one. Click, shift click, and increase the X value. Now, I'm clicking off to deselect these, by the way. Left click, shift click, reduce the X value to bring it across. And this is what our collision should look like. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other frames before I continue. So click, click, increase, click, click, decrease, increase on the Y, decrease on the Y. And we have to do this for the other animation, by the way. Bit tedious, I know, I'm sorry. Whoop. Click off first. Decrease, and there we go. There's a collision model done. Now, the reason that we don't worry about where the bottom of the collision model is, if you have a look at when I go through these frames, the top will jump up and down. That's okay, because it's sitting on the top of Mario's head. But if you have a look at the bottom, you'll see it's a flat line the whole time. And that's really important, because if that bottom line jumped up or down even 1 pixel, when he's running along a platform and he hits that animation frame, his sprite would jump up and down. Potentially he would go through the floor and he would just fall. Okay, so that bottom line needs to be even the whole way across. Okay, next thing we need to do is make sure the origin points are okay. Smack bang in the middle, smack bang, smack bang. Okay, on to jumping. His origin's good, collision model good. Skidding, collision model good, origin, he's good, but I'm going to change the speed of the animation. So what I want you to do, people, is click on small skidding, speed, we're going to slow it down to 3. And I'll explain that when we get to the coding next video. Big idle. Big Mario is a bit annoying. Unfortunately, if you imagine little Mario in the same picture, he would probably be almost half the size of Big Mario, basically. Well, he is actually exactly half the size. And the origin point for the little Mario would essentially be in the crutch of the Big Mario. And yes, it's funny to say, but he is. He's actually smack bang in the middle. We actually need the origin points for Big Mario to line up with the origin points of the small Mario. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this X and Y value up here to modify them. So if you haven't already, click the origin points button. Okay. Make sure X is set to 8 and the Y value is 24. I've done a lot of testing for this, and that's the exact point that lines up with the small Mario. The reason we have to do that is because when he switches between small and big, if they don't line up, Mario's going to fall through the floor. Okay, so moving along, let's go to running, because this one, again, we have to adjust the collision model first. Okay, just like we did before, and I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. Okay, only with this bit. I'm going to bring the Y up so it cuts off his toes. And the reason we do that, if you look at the next frame, Mario's foot is lifted a little bit. So his toes are going to go through the platform, but he won't fall through the floor. So let's move these up, across, backwards, across, back, and up. All right, now the collision model is all even. So at this point, we need to set the image points to the right positions. And for every single frame for this one, it's 15 for the X, 23 for the Y. So click on the frame 1, and you'll notice we have to set that one as well. 23, 23. All right, so the image point is now the exact same on all 3 frames. We're going to change the speed of the animation by clicking on big running over here and setting the speed to 15, just like it was with the small one. All right, big jumping, he's pretty easy because his collision model is perfect. His image point needs to be 8, 23. Big skidding, his image point should be 8, 24. His speed should be 3, just like the small skid. Big ducking, image point is 8, 14. Okay, collision model should be fine. I didn't check the skidding, but I can guarantee you it's fine. Dead's fine. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with that one. Grow. We're first of all going to set the speed to 10, so it flickers a little bit quicker. Now we need to go through and set the image point for every single big frame. Because you'll notice it's fine for little Mario. When you go to the big one, it's in the middle again. So it's going to be the same as idle, which is 24. Okay. Click on the big Mario, 24. Big Mario, 24. Big Mario, I just set that to something random. Crap. What was the X? 8. 8's 24. Okay. That's done. Shrink, set the speed to 10. Same thing. Go through the big frames. Set them to 24. And done. All right. Close it. Your animations, save. I should have said that before. Your animations are set up, are ready to go. We just have to add in a ton of programming, unfortunately. But that's fine, because that's half the fun of it. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next part of the video. We're going to make Mario do some stuff. So, see you then.